Hello, hello, hello. It is Natalie here. I am Natalie Riede and I am an expert on mindset, mindfulness, and manifestation. So myself, I battled cancer not once, but twice. And I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor. I had colon cancer. What a lot of people don't know is that on my journey, I almost died from complications from the surgery.
Natalie Riede, from invisible to invincible. Today we talk through expert advice on stepping out of your comfort zone and seizing control of your life with confidence. Get ready to be inspired and empowered by Natalie's heartwarming story of courage and empowerment. I'm your host, Chris Leather, and this is A Path to Self-Healing. Natalie, thank you for being here. Now, for me to understand you a little bit more, is there an early memory or experience that shaped you into the person that you are today?
I think one of the biggest things is that we moved around a lot as kids. So I was originally born in Nottingham, and then we moved to a small village called Balderton, Newark. And then we moved back to Nottingham, and then we moved down to London. We moved around a lot in London. And I remember a conversation with my mum, like myself and my twin sister were like scared. I mean, obviously it's a big thing going to a new school. And she's like, you're only new on the first day. It's only scary because you don't know what to expect. But once you've done it, you start making friends. That you're not the new girl anymore. So, just crack on basically. And I kind of like that advice has really stood me in good stead because it's so true that you can feel so afraid when you don't know what to expect and when there's something new and you're like, oh, I don't want to know what I don't want to do. I don't want to be this new person. What if I'm not enough? What if people don't like me? But it's only new for that one day. And then afterwards it's fine. And using that, like I traveled, I've lived in Singapore and Australia and Thailand, and I've tried lots of different things. I like to call myself the queen of reinvention because I have done so many things. And it all comes down to that core memory of you're only the new girl on the first day. And that's it. But yeah.
Okay, so how did that sort of build you into going down this mindset and manifestation therapy coach? How did that shape you into becoming where you've been or where you are today?
So, my catalyst, the reason why I became a women's empowerment hypno coach, actually comes from something really traumatic in my own experience. I was diagnosed with colon cancer completely out of the blue at 31 years old. It was like right before Christmas. I was a teacher, an English teacher in a private school here in Germany. And I was teaching A Christmas Carol, which is like one of my favorite books. And I had so much planned. And like I had a routine doctor's checkup, and they were like, it's cancer. I'm like, what do you mean it's cancer? I'm 31. I'm getting married in 4 months. And my whole world changed. I mean, it was a lot, like you can imagine. And I did fall into a depression, and I realized that I didn't have any coping strategies. And a few months after having surgery and chemo and all of those things, I actually had a near-death experience where I almost died from complications from surgery and had a septic abscess and no immune system. I literally had a 1 in a million reaction to a painkiller I was taking that completely destroyed my immune system. So I had emergency surgery and I woke up in quarantine and I spent over a month in hospital. And the doctors are like, there's not really anything we can do. You're either going to live or you're going to die. Um, whew. And that was a huge, huge wake up call. I remember some of those days actually praying to die because it was just, I was in so much pain and I had just gone through so much. And one evening, I had this like weird epiphany. I don't know what you call it, but this moment where I heard this voice saying, if you want to go, it's like you can go, but it's not your time. And so I was like, you know what? There's still so much that I want to do. And thinking back on my life, even though I had done some great things, a lot of what I had done was just what I should do or what I thought I should do, what society expected of me. Like I had a good job, and it wasn't like lighting me up, but it was good. And when I had this realization, like, I want to live, I want to be here, but I also realized, like, I owe it to myself to truly go after what I want, to live a life that fills me with joy and passion and purpose, and to become this person that I should have always been. So, like, that near death experience and like something that was not even related to cancer, just something completely different, almost took me out, was kind of the wake up call that I needed. That like I needed to do the inner work. I needed to have therapy. Um, and I did holistic therapies and everything as well. It's kind of like what took me down that rabbit hole of holistic health, like hypnotherapy and meditation and art therapy and dance therapy. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously I survived. Here I am. But kind of that was like the catalyst for me to to change my life completely.
Mm.
Oh, that
I
was a
can't
lot.
I can't even imagine, what you must have gone through during that time. Um, and to show some real core resilience and strength to get through that moment. Did you have a lot of support emotionally during that time?
Oh, yeah, there was a mixture. There was some really, really amazing people in my life that stood up for me, that were there, that showed up. Um, but I lost a lot of friends. I even had some run-ins with some family members, and it was a really hard time. And this is one of the things that nobody really talks about with cancer. And it's not just cancer, it's also grief or any kind of difficult situation. A lot of people will distance themselves from you, and it feels really personal, right? Because you're going through something terrible and all of a sudden these people aren't around anymore. They're fair weather friends, and it's because that your hard thing is too triggering for them. And they
Mm.
start by saying, oh, they don't want to bother you. So they kind of put a distance, and then time just extends. And then you realize that you haven't heard from your friend for months at a time. I mean, one of my really good friends, or someone I counted as a really good friend, was talking about me behind my back and saying, she's really making a meal out of it. And I'm like, got stage 4 cancer. Like, what else do you want me to talk about? I can't just talk about frivolous things anymore. Like my life is on the line. I might not survive. I'm doing the best that I can, but like this is a big deal for me. And that was really heartbreaking. And it's something that we will have to learn, that sometimes it's actually better to have less people who are actually going to be there for you than to have people that don't have your back. But it is a hard lesson to learn.
Mm. Are those people still in your life now?
Yeah, they are my core group of people, and we've all started having kids, and like we all support each other. And I think, like for me, I'm a Brit living in Germany, right? But I used to live in Singapore. I've used to live in Thailand and Australia, and And one of the things I've really noticed how important it is for your happiness is to have a network, a support network, people who have similar goals to you, similar values, people who are actually going to show up and be there for you, and vice versa. They are your chosen family, and they enrich my life so much. And I think that that is really important, especially when you're going through something difficult, because it can feel so isolating and you can feel so alone. And when you know that someone has got your back, that changes anything and everything. Or even if you're in a good place and you want to try something new, something challenging, exciting, those very people are going to be the people who are going to push you and celebrate your wins. And so that's why it's so important to surround yourself by people who will love and support you.
Mhm. Is there any advice that you'd give for anybody who's going through something similar to what you are, or anybody who's observing somebody who's going through something you went through?
Yeah, I know that when people are going through something difficult, you don't know what to say, and that's okay. But if you just tell that person, like, hey, I see you, and I know that I do not understand what you're going through, I cannot imagine, but I'm here for you, whatever you need, whether it is to go out and pretend that everything's fine and, I don't know, go bowling or drinking, whatever it is, or you want to cry on my shoulder, whatever you need, I've got you. And I think just knowing that someone is there for you, because a lot of my clients, like I help a lot of different people, but some of my clients do have cancer. And one of the core themes that runs through my sessions is they don't want to be a burden, right? They
Mm,
don't want to feel like they're sucking the joy out of everyone else's life. They don't want to feel like they're a hardship on anybody. And so there's a tendency for us going through the difficult thing to try and minimize what we're going through or to hold it all in. And that is not healthy because you're holding in all of these negative feelings and emotions, like they just fester. And what
mm,
can happen is when you're going through something difficult and then you're isolating yourself and you're not talking about it, you can actually then turn into, I call it like a rage monster. You can just
mm,
explode at people for no reason whatsoever because you're not processing everything. And like your loved ones want to help you. But they don't know what to do or what to say. And I think that like communication is also a two-way street. Like you have to be able to say to people, like, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need from you right now. Whether it is, I don't want to talk about it, I just want to have today. Like I did this for like me when I had cancer. It was right before my wedding, right? And we postponed our massive ceremony and just did a small registry office wedding. And we postponed it for a year. And a year later, when we were supposed to be celebrating me being cancer free, and having the big celebration, the cancer came back. And then I was stage 4. And I was like, I don't want to postpone it again. So, like, we had the big celebration in between my chemotherapy sessions.
mm,
And I had someone step up and do like a little talk before the ceremony started to say, this is a day of celebration. It's not a day for sad tears. Like, let's enjoy it. Let's make memories. And I think that that is so important as well, that we don't defer our happiness. So I think some people think like when you go through something difficult, that means you're always miserable, which is not true. Like you still need to have these moments of joy because that's what's going to light up the difficult times.
mm. I can correlate to that so much because I remember my experience was obviously was through grief, for losing my father, and it was in COVID, and I spent I lived on my own. I couldn't see anybody. It was a very difficult time, and I think those words that you've mentioned are quite good words of wisdom. And I think sometimes, especially being a man, I think men tend to not. They try to keep
Mm.
and deal with things themselves anyway. Um, do you think that we need to go through some real moments of pain to bring about change?
Yes and no. Like my whole thing that I tell to everybody is you shouldn't have to go through something really traumatic to have a wake-up call that life is short. I mean, it is. It's really short. And so many of us get stuck in our comfort zone. And it is only through some form of catalyst that makes us reevaluate our lives and our happiness that we move forward. But that's what it is. A wake-up call is a time for self-reflection. It's a time for you to look at your life and be like, oh, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I want something more. But unfortunately, the sad state of affairs is most people only make changes when something bad happens, right? It's like the carrot and the stick kind of thing, right? Like you either, like if you hate your job or you're just okay in your job, either it has to get really, really, really bad, forcing you to want to leave, or you get an amazing opportunity that pulls you forward. But if you're stuck in the middle, and you're like, it's not terrible. You're content, you're comfortable. There is not really a lot of momentum or energy to make you move. And it's only with a wake up call that you will do that. And so, like, my entire thing is I want to impact as many people as possible to say, hey, you don't have to wait for a wake up call to change your life. Like, your life is happening right now. What are you doing? In fact, one of the most powerful exercises that I do with my potential clients or clients is I ask them to plan their eulogy. I know, bear with, I know that sounds really morbid, but that's kind of what I went through when I was lying on my deathbed, waiting to die. And I had this moment of, I don't know if I'm going to survive. And I thought, I mean, I was 31. Well, I just turned 32. And I had done some good things, but like I was like, am I really truly happy? Am I really fulfilled? Am I the person I've always wanted to be? Or am I a yes woman? Am I a people pleaser? And like I had a life of regrets. I mean, like at 32 is not like old, but it's not like, in the prime of your youth at like 18 where you've got like all this potential. Like you're in the middle. You're in the middle of your life. And I was full of regrets. So when I ask people, I'm like, it is a really emotional exercise. But I'm like, if you were to plan your eulogy, what people would say right now, would you be happy with your life? Would you be like, yeah, it's okay. I've done everything I've wanted and I've got great relationships and I'm fulfilled and I'm this and I'm that? Or would you have this huge pit of like regret? And that is a really powerful thing for people to do because most people do not self-reflect. Most people do not think about their future or a vision or what they want to do. They've got their heads down, they're working at jobs to pay a mortgage, to afford like one holiday a year. And everybody's doing it. So like that's the status quo, right? That's normal. You get a job, you work, and hopefully you get enough time in your retirement years to be able to enjoy your life. Where I'm like, I'm not waiting for retirement to my life. I'm going to live it now.
I think about death more these days than I've ever done, in terms of like what you've said of regret and thinking, oh my God, could I imagine laying out with a care nurse next to me on my deathbed? And then I just think, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have been more kind. I wish I'd have gone for that job. I wish I'd have taken that opportunity. I wish I'd have been more confident.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. So I'm glad you brought up the comfort zone because we're going to dig into this in a little bit more detail. But before we move into that, can you just sort of, for me and the listeners, just explain a little bit around what you do professionally and I think you've explored the why, but
Yeah.
if you want to touch on that a little bit more, please do.
Yeah. So I am a women's empowerment hypno coach. I say hypno coach because I really heavily work with the subconscious mind through hypnotherapy. For me, going through so many different therapies on my own healing journey, I realized that you can really achieve like rapid transformation by working through and harnessing the power of your subconscious mind. So that is my biggest thing. And I say I'm an empowerment hypno coach because what everything always boils down to is having the self-confidence and self-esteem to know your own worth. Because when you know that you are worthy, the sky is the limit. Like you are not going to put up with being treated badly by anybody. You're going to have amazing boundaries. You're going to have the confidence to go after what it is that you want to do. You're going to have the resilience to pick yourself up after being rejected. When you come from this place of empowerment, you unlock this superpower within you. And I'm there to be your biggest cheerleader so that you can create a life that you adore. So I'm your expert in all things mindset, mindfulness, and manifestation.
Mm. Let's talk about the comfort zone then. Um,
Yes.
how would I know that I'm in the comfort zone?
Because it feels comfy. It doesn't feel challenging. So the comfort zone, don't get me wrong, I think we all need to experience the comfort zone through different periods in our lives. The comfort zone is safe. It's predictable. You know what to expect. You're not really that stressed. There's low risk. But it's kind of like Groundhog Day. So you're doing the same stuff day in, day out. Okay, you're doing the same things, you know what to expect. There's not really anything new or challenging. And it's good because you do need to have this period of time to rest. But if you stay there too long, your hopes and dreams just go to die. Like they wither and die and they just sit there in this mediocrity. And so many people live in that comfort zone. I think it's like there was a study done. I think it's like 98% of people in the world stay in the comfort zone because they were like low risk means safe. And like we're hardwired for safety. Like our brain wants us to be safe. Like it doesn't want us to do something that might challenge us because it sees it as completely dangerous. And like you might die. So don't do that. Where I'm like, okay, but you might not live if you don't do something.
Hmm. Is it good any time to be in the comfort zone?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like when I went through like chemo and stuff like that, like I didn't go to work for a whole year. And that was to heal and to rest and everything like that. And then I did go back to work for a few hours a week. And that was good. Like I needed that stability. I needed that comfort. But what happens is at some point along the way, and most of us don't notice when we've tipped over the line, is you just doing things by rote. Like if you think about when you drive a car, right, and you don't know where you're going, you're paying attention to everything. But when you've done that route multiple times, you can get in your car outside your house, and then the next thing you're at work, and you haven't, like, you don't know how you got there because you've just done it on autopilot. And you kind of can do that through life. And you will notice that because after a while, you'll start to feel stuck. Like this feeling of, oh, is this it?
Hmm.
Is this it? So you want to have those moments of stability to make you feel good so that you can rest, so that you can recharge, rejuvenate, especially if you've gone through something difficult. But at some point, you have to realize like there is more to life than this little box that you're living in right now.
Hmm. Have you worked with anybody on being in the comfort zone? I mean, without
Yeah.
obviously breaching client confidentiality, if that.
Yes. I've worked with actually quite a few people on comfort zone. It is one of the core things that I work through because we have like blocks and beliefs and limitations that we put on ourselves. And a lot of it actually comes from our childhood. We don't even realize we're doing it. So one of my clients, we'll call her M, she's a small business owner as well. And she is a baby sleep consultant. So she would talk to parents about all these different holistic ways that they can help their baby to sleep so that they can all feel happy and healthy and productive. And she was kind of burnt out, working all of these hours, doing all these things. And she'd been doing it for years. And she actually came to me for something completely unrelated. She actually had a fear of driving after being in a car accident. So in one session, I mean, we had 3 sessions together, but like in one main session, like we blew through that fear and phobia like out of the water. And this is the power of working with your subconscious mind. We used a neurolinguistic programming technique, and it was incredible that she could just get behind the wheel and start driving and enjoy it. But what was interesting is as we were talking, we were pulling out all of these other things and realizing that she wasn't really feeling fulfilled, that she was doing what she thought she'd be doing. She'd created this business and it wasn't even making her happy anymore. And I'm like, yeah, because it's comfortable where you are. Why don't we step it up a little bit? So, anyway, now she trains other people to be baby sleep consultants. And she's just done this massive launch. I think she's got like 14 or 15, I can't remember how many people in her course. And like her life is completely changed. Not only is she doing something that is scary for her, but like incredible. She's earning a fantastic salary doing this, but her relationship with her husband and her children have all drastically improved as well because she stepped out of this comfort zone. She's got the confidence to follow her heart and what she wants to do. She's creating healthy boundaries, which means she's happier, she's sleeping better, she's not burnt out anymore. And she is growing and changing and evolving. And she's so freaking happy. And I'm so incredibly like proud. Like I love watching her successes. And it all came from expanding her comfort zone. And that is one of the things that I work primarily with my clients with is not some people are like, oh, you need to step outside the comfort zone and get outside of your box. I'm like, okay, that's scary. And it's also not sustainable. Do you know what I mean? Like when we have New
Mm.
Year's resolutions, how many of us are like, oh, I'm gonna like go to the gym every single day and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then how many days is it after the first that these things fall by the wayside? My thing is expand your comfort zone, do things that are slightly scary. And as you grow and expand that comfort zone, you will become more confident. And before you know it, you'll be doing those things that used to scare you.
Mm. So what were the steps in the therapy then for this individual? What kind of were the techniques that you used, or was it just talking through some ways of change?
So one of my favorite things, I'm quite a visual learner. So I generally try and work with people. I try and work out, are they more auditory? Are they more visual? Are they more kinesthetic? Because I like to work with people and find out like what's the best way to work. And she's quite a visual person as well. So what I got her to do and I do this in groups as well. And you can do this today. Like if you are feeling stuck and unfulfilled, you're lost in a bit directionless, and you don't know how to break out of it, like get a piece of paper and in the middle of the paper, draw a big circle and in the middle, write down all of the things that you are comfortable with, the skills and the resources and the knowledge that you know, like the back of your hand, things that you do that you're comfortable with. Like, are you a whiz at Canva, making reels? Are you good at giving presentations? How does it make you feel? All of those kind of things. And it's really great to visually write those things down. If you're an auditory person, then you can just like say it into your phone. And then what I would get you to do is then on the outside of the circle, write down those things that scare you, the things that you kind of want to do, but it's really scary, the things that you think would actually benefit you, like personally or professionally. So, for example, for me, um, on the outside of my circle was going live on social media,
Mm.
which is funny. Like I am I'm a great speaker and I love talking, as you can tell, but going live scared me because it wasn't scripted. And then when you've got like the inside of the circle and the outside of the circle, you can self-reflect. And that's where a lot of our reprogramming comes from, reflection. Because I'm like, what is triggering you when you look at those things outside of the circle? What is the voice that's running through your mind saying, oh, I can't do this because I'm not good enough? You'll notice like a lot of it is fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough, smart enough, good enough, brave enough, wealthy enough, even the fear of success. And then it's kind of like unpicking that. And some of that is through self-reflection and journaling, and some of it we can actually work through hypnosis or another kind of technique. But like this is something you can do for yourself at home. And when you've got like a thought like that, I always like to play is it true or false? Is it fact or fiction? Like you challenge the validity of this self-doubt. And journaling is amazing for that. Like when I think, okay, I wanted to go live, but I was scared of doing it. I'm like, okay, what was the emotion there? Or like for her, it was doing a different program, something different that she'd never done before, like teaching other people to do what she'd done. There was this fear around, well, will it be successful, or am I spending energy on something that's not going to reap this reward, right? It's pulling it back and be like, okay, well, what's the evidence of this? Because you're already successful. And like she's like, okay, that's true. I am already successful. I'm like, and you already have like contacts that you could work through. And do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes we can catastrophize stuff
Mm.
and really be like, oh no, this is never going to work. But when you sit and you have something in black and white and you're like, well, actually, I can do those things. And when you pick one thing from outside your circle and you create an action plan to work through that, that is how you expand your comfort zone. Because you realize by trying something new, like there's no such thing as failure, it's only feedback. So if you try it and it doesn't work out, great. You've learned what didn't work. How can you change it? What can you do differently? And when you commit to making a change immediately, and you get comfortable with the discomfort of expanding that comfort zone, it changes your entire outlook, because you're reframing like I can't to I can, and you
Mm.
learn and you grow. And like, I mean, we only had a few sessions together and now she is like out the stratosphere. She's absolutely incredible. And this is one of the things why I do what I do, is for rapid transformational change. Like I went through talking therapy during my cancer recovery, but I also did holistic methods, and they are two completely different things.
Do you think that a lot of people don't get out of the comfort zones then,
Yeah,
because of judgment?
yeah, yeah, that's a big one.
I just feel that judgment is. I just, if I rewind the clock to when I first started doing this, I mean, I suppose this podcast is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
And you put it out there, and you're at fear of judgment. So, is there? I'm just thinking of like, Gary, who's sat in an office somewhere and he's been doing his job for the last 20 years and he's seen that promotion and he's fearful of going for it, fearful of failure. What is there anything else you can share to help Gary or Lucy, however it may be, in that position to go for that job?
Yeah. So I would say it's a risk and reward. I say to people, I get that it's scary. I understand, but it's always going to be scary. And the longer you don't do something, the more afraid you're going to feel. And let's think about the people that you think are going to judge you. Let's play out the scenario. This is the like I get people to actually say it out loud, because a lot of it is up in our minds, right? Let's say it out loud. Let's play it out. What is the worst that could happen? Truly, you go for that promotion and you don't get it. Okay, now what? Who's going to say something to you? Because the people who will actually say something, those negative Nancy's, those Debbie Downers, like, are they stepping out of their comfort zone? Because I can guarantee you, nobody who is going after their dreams will ever pull you down. They will always support you. But people who are firmly entrenched in their own comfort zone, you going for something more is triggering for them because it makes them look at themselves and be like, oh, well, if I'm not doing anything, then I don't want somebody else to do something either. Let's be in it together. So then I'm like, okay, what are they good friends? If they want to keep you playing small, then let's play out the positive scenario where everything works out. How does that make you feel? And I think when you play those two things out and you really talk it out and you realize like, okay, if I don't do something, that's a decision, right? And choosing not to do something is still a decision. It's keeping you where you are. If you don't do something and change and you're not feeling happy, if you're feeling stuck, how do you think you're going to feel in 6 months' time or a year's time or 2 years' time? You're going to still be where you are right now, but you're going to feel worse because you didn't do something. The action and the magic is in the doing. Because once you do it, it's not so scary anymore. If you go after it, if you go after a promotion and you don't get it, okay, yeah, that sucks. But you can ask for feedback. Okay, why didn't I get this promotion? Is there something that I could have done? Do you need me to have certain skills? And they're like, yeah, actually, we loved you because of this, this, and this, but we need you to have this skill. Boom. Now you know what to do. You can take that action. And in doing that, you're giving yourself confidence and you're taking this action. Or maybe you go for that promotion and you don't get it, but it gives you the confidence to go to a competitor. Because this is, I mean, this has happened in my own relationship. My husband was working for a company for a really long time and they were so supportive when I was going through cancer. Like they gave him time off and they were great and he was good at his job. But he went and asked for a raise and a possible promotion. And his boss was like, yeah, nah, like you're at the top end. There is no growth and there is no more money. And my husband came home and we talked about it and he was really upset. And I'm like, so what you gonna do about it? And that is it, right? What are you going to do about it? Like, I'm going to let you feel your feelings and I'm going to let you get it out. But at some point, you've got to get off your ass and do something about it. You are the CEO of your life. If you're not happy, do something about it. It's scary, yeah. But what's on the other side of fear? Fear is a mirror. The other side of fear is desire. If you're afraid of public speaking, that means that you have the desire to be on stage. If you have the fear of driving, it means you have the desire to get behind the wheel and have the wind in your head. Do you know what I mean? Like it's picturing what is that thing that you want to have. Like your desire has got to be bigger than that fear. And you connect to that by thinking, what does that thing give me? Because it's not the promotion, it's not the more money, it's what does it give you when you have those things? You've got growth, you've got recognition of your skills and abilities, you've got networking, you've got the freedom to afford to buy that next car. Like you have to connect to your vision and your desire for something. And that has to be bigger than those fears. Like you can learn strategies to work through those fears. That's not a problem. You have to be the person who's like, I'm not going to stay small anymore. You've got one life. What are you doing with it? Seriously, what are you doing?
The other thing I wanted to ask you your opinion on is other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Now, I only ask this because me and you've spoke off this recording, and I've got my finger or my toe dipped into something else that's up and coming. And the first thing I did was share the news with some very close friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when I shared it with some close friends, I had very mixed opinions. Some was don't do it for X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Some were saying, "Oh yeah, go for it. That's a brilliant opportunity." And I think for me personally, I've become quite attuned to not listen to every voice that's
Mm.
thrown at me. Um, and one thing that's always stuck with me is that not taking a risk can be your biggest risk of all.
Yeah.
So, is there any advice you could give me, on how to approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really valid to use your nearest and dearest as sounding boards, but recognize who they are as people before you ask. Like for me, for example, setting up my own business, there are certain people, I didn't tell them anything until I had my first paying clients because I knew that there would be Debbie Downers and they would pull me down. And when you're in a vulnerable position, when you're still in that stage of stepping out of your comfort zone, a few people can pull you back, right? So recognize the type of people you're speaking to. And if you know that they're going to be, a negative Nancy, then just don't tell them. Don't ask for their opinion. But if there's someone who has got the life that you aspire to have, who's living the dream, or is on the next rung above you, those are the kind of people you want to speak to because they are going to tell you the truth and they're going to inspire you. And we want to be learning from people who are doers, right? Because people who aren't doing anything aren't going to support you. Like it comes from a place of love. People don't want you to
Hmm.
do something that is risky because they want to keep you safe. It's not anything mean, but when you're in a vulnerable position and you yourself are expanding and growing, those people can pull you down. And if you do decide to tell them and they do try and pull you down, you just say, thank you so much for your opinion. I appreciate it. I know that it's coming from a place of love, but this is something that I want to go ahead with. So I'd really appreciate your support. And if you can't support me, then keep your opinions to yourself. That's a boundary. And when you know your own self worth, setting boundaries is important to your happiness and your overall growth. Like almost all of my friends, through one thing or another, or like particularly the women in my group, but like even the men as well, they're either going for promotions, they're changing jobs, or they're setting up their own businesses. Like I've surrounded by myself with people who are growing, they are evolving, they are not stagnating. And I love it. And I love it for them. Even the people who are in jobs that they don't love right now, they're trying out different hobbies. They're dipping their toes in different things and getting their fingers in different pies, right? They're trying things out. And like one of my friends was like, oh, what if I try it out and it doesn't work? I'm like, so you've got a great experience. Like, what is this? We have these phrases, right? I don't know if people in other countries have it, but like in the UK, we have like, oh, the grass isn't always greener or it's better
Yeah.
the devil you know. Like we have these phrases that keep us playing small. I'm like, do it. What is the worst that can happen? You're never going to regret doing something that is allowing you to grow and expand, and it's exciting, right? Nobody wants to live
Hmm.
Groundhog Day or like in the Truman Show, where you're just doing the same thing again and again. If you keep doing the same thing, you can't expect a different result. And when you have something that you want that excites you and you've got a vision for the future, then nobody else's opinion is really going to be able to pull you down anyway, because like you have a vision.
Hmm. I I remember learning a while ago that if you do the same things repeatedly over time, your
Mm.
days go fast. Then it becomes a psychological approach that,
Mhm.
where you say, oh, the weeks just fly by. This year's just flown by,
Yeah,
and actually just even taking a detour and a different route to work is changing an experience
yeah,
and setting you on a path where actually you're probably willing to deal with some more uncomfortable situations as well. Is there any other mindsets? So we've talked about some practical steps and some
mhm.
ways of how people can get themselves out of the comfort zone, but um, is there any shift in mindset that people need to take, like quick shifts in in changing your mindset, and how would that look?
Yeah. I mean, there are some quick things that you can do immediately today. And the biggest thing is watch your language. How do you talk to yourself? What is your self-talk? What is that voice in your mind saying? If you, for example, wake up late, right? Your alarm went off and you snoozed it and you wake up late and you've got a big thing going on at work. There are two types of people in the world. There's that person who's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And they've got this frantic, chaotic energy and they're running around and maybe you cut yourself shaving and like you're running around and then like you get like splashed by a puddle. You're in the car, you've got road rage because it seems like everybody's out to get you. It is the worst day ever. You get to work, you've realized that you've missed something, you've left it at home, and you go through your entire day with this energy of frantic, chaotic, right? Or there are the other people like me. I wake up and I'm like, oh no, I'm late. Have that initial panic. And then I go into action mode. I call the person who I'm supposed to be meeting or whatever it is. And I say, unfortunately, I'm running late. I will be here at this time. And I get myself ready. I'm late already. May as well make a coffee. Get myself ready and I go and I've got a different energy. Because if you're going to go through like your day with this chaotic energy, everything's going to feel like it's going wrong because you're drawing that to you. You've got this chaotic energy. And then when I'm late and I say to that person, I thank them for waiting because that acknowledges that they waited, but it's got a different energy. And I think that like these are the kind of the small things that it's reframing something negative to something positive. If I'm like saying constantly to myself, oh, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this, like your brain can't actually understand negation, right? Like to picture the thing and then say don't. Like if I say, don't think of a purple elephant wearing a pink tutu, your brain is going to picture an elephant and then you're trying to put like a cross through it, but it's too late. You've seen the elephant. So get rid of the negations. So rather than saying, don't forget this, I'm going to remember this. Or, oh, I can't do that. It's too hard. I can do that. It's challenging. Like the words that you use will reframe everything. Like for me, incredibly powerful. When I was going through chemo, I mean, you can imagine, like I was in the depths of a depression. And I remember talking to one of my therapists, and she's like, I know it's hard, right? But you don't have to have chemotherapy. You get to have it. You get to have a life-saving treatment. You get to have more days with your family. And that blew my mind. Changing the words, I have to do something, to I get to do something. I have to do this. Has this energy of obligation, which automatically means that you don't want to do it. You're feeling forced to do something. And you change that to I get to, it opens it up to an opportunity. It makes you feel gratitude. And feeling gratitude, even when you're in your darkest days, will change how you look at the world. When you are grateful for things that you have, you're welcoming in more beautiful things. And if you hate your life, you probably complain a lot. You probably talk about the boss that you hate. You probably talk about the commute. Oh, I hate this, I hate that. All of these different things. You're just bringing in more of the things that you don't like. Because, like, I think Tony Robbins said, where focus goes, energy flows. Where are you putting focus? Change your words, change how you look at things. And these little small changes, getting rid of the negatives, forming it as a positive, reframing, this is hard, I can't do it, to this is challenging, but I can do it, or I can learn to do it, will change how you show up in the world. It's something really small, but also like maybe it's an English thing, but like giving or accepting compliments, right? If somebody compliments you, what's your initial reaction? It's probably going to be like, "Mm, not me, this old thing," or no, I did, you automatically try and deflect it. right? Because we're taught to, we want to be humble. You don't want to brag. But you're rejecting that person's nice thing that they've said to you. And therefore, you're rejecting yourself. Next time somebody gives you a compliment, graciously accept it. Someone said, "Oh, you did a really great thing in that presentation." Thank you. I really appreciate your feedback. Rather than like, "Oh, it's fine." Blah, blah, blah. Accept it. Notice that they'll feel good that you've accepted it and you'll feel good. Give compliments to other people and yourself. Like if you look at yourself in the mirror, can you tell like 5 things that you love about yourself? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel icky? Like, what are you
Mm,
talking to yourself about? Like these kind of things, like the words that you use, change your world completely.
mm. I think we could do with more kindness in
Yeah.
this world through compliments, in my honest opinion. But is there any other final thoughts at all, Natalie, that you wanted to share with myself and the listeners around conquering and stepping out of that comfort zone?
Yeah. You are the CEO of your life, right? And if you're not happy, then you have the power to make changes. And it's all about embracing the discomfort and growing and expanding your comfort zone. And if you do feel like you've got fears or blocks, doubts, insecurities holding you back, then I have got something incredible that I would love to share with you if that's okay.
Mm,
So I have created what I'm calling the ultimate toolkit to unleash your inner badass. It's called
right.
Fear Less, Do More. And that's what it's all about. So I've created this toolkit. So it is a workbook that has got an interactive quiz to find out what's holding you back and how you can move through it. Really insightful journal prompts so you can start that self-reflection with an action planner so you can actually implement changes. And it also has an incredibly powerful guided meditation so that you can feel radiantly confident immediately. Because when you come from this place of empowered confidence, you can instantly start making changes and become the action taker that you need to be to create a life that you adore. And it's completely free.
Where did they get this from?
So you can get it from my website, natalieriedecoaching.com. We can also put the link in the show notes. And you can also
Yeah,
find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook and YouTube at Natalie Riede Hypno Coach.
lovely. And thank you for coming on today, Natalie. There's so many kind words and complimented words, just touching on what we said before, that I can say about you. I mean, to go through an experience like you did
Mm.
and to come out the other side where you're at now, a very strong, resilient, powerful thought thinking person. I'd I'd highly recommend anybody to go onto your social media. I mean, I said to you before, you seem to be rather prolific with your social media posts, and the are very. I connected with them emotionally, especially the one where you were going through the experience of losing or not having close people, whether that's friends or family members, being with you during that trying time. But your work is commendable, and I find you very inspiring. So thank you so much for being on today.